What is going on, guys? I tried to do this last week on Facebook, and the software on Facebook doesn't seem to want to agree with my internet for some reason. This seems to be a lot better. So I'm gonna pull it up on the side here. If you got any comments, any questions about anything that we're gonna be talking about today, it's gonna be the top 3 keys to weight loss as a busy mom. So we're gonna be talking about a few different things here. Let me just make sure I got the comments live here. I might not even be able to see comments. Let's see here. One sec. I gotta pull it up on my phone first. Okay. Okay, there we go. Okay, awesome. Sydney, nice to see you. And again, for everybody that's just joining, make sure that you're putting in any kind of questions that you have about anything that we're going to be talking about today. So, as a busy mom, there's a few things that a couple of our clients run into. So, the first key is going to be plan, plan, plan. If you fail to plan, you plan to fail. If you aren't mitigating the risk of you falling off track, weight loss comes with consistency. Like it comes with you making sure you're hitting a high percentage, like at least 80% throughout the week. And if you're not planning, the chances of you going below 80% are fairly high. And there's a lot of things that come up as a mom. Like there's a lot of responsibilities, there's a lot of extra things that you just get thrown onto your plate, which we're also going to be talking about today as well, that can deter you or throw you off track, especially like when you're getting off work and you're like, oh, I'm going to go make sure I go make my meals after work. I'm going to go make sure I get it done. Maldita, Kathleen, nice to see you guys. But potentially something comes up and that deters you from actually being able to eat the food that you planned on having, and you end up eating something out of convenience because you just completely deterred your entire plan. And if you had made the food ahead of time and maybe had some on the go foods that you could bring with you, then the likelihood of you following through with it would go up significantly. And also just throughout the week, if you get like emotionally like and mentally just stressed out and like escalated, the likelihood of you following through with everything. So there's just a bunch of things on my screen that's just distracting me. I need to get these off. Okay. Yeah. So making sure you're planning out ahead of time. Also for the weekend, like don't be a 57 percenter. Raven, Robin, Lacey, nice to see you guys. For everybody that's joining in, make sure to put any comments or questions if you want to dive a little bit further into anything that we're talking about today. So the next piece of planning is don't be a 57 percenter. For those of you that have been following me for a while, you've seen some content where I've talked about don't be a 57 percenter. Those of us that live in the Yukon, other places, of course, the weekends are our downfall, where you get to Thursday, you're crushing it, everything's going well. You get to Friday, and you're like, oh, I crushed it this week. You know, I deserve a drink. I deserve some food. You justify it somehow, maybe even skip the workout. And then Friday ends up just kind of going down the drain a little bit. Then you go into Saturday and you sleep in. You take your sweet time. Like you don't have the normal morning routine that you typically have Monday to Friday. And how you set the tone at the start of the or how you start off your day sets the tone for the rest of the day. And you're waking up late on a Saturday, you're going to have a lazy start to the day, and most of us don't have a plan. Or most people don't have a plan going into the weekend. So they let the weekend control them versus controlling the weekend, where you kind of just go with the flow, kind of just doing whatever you feel like during the weekend. And then you end up eating stuff out of the cupboard, out of convenience. Nothing's really planned. You maybe go out for food again. Maybe you go out for drinks again. And it kind of ends up just kind of that one also goes down the drain. Then your Sunday frantically just trying to get all your shit together to try and get back on track for Monday. Then before you know it, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, just completely down the drain. Even if you just had Saturday and Sunday go down the drain, that can throw off your entire week's worth of progress, especially if you're kind of just going into vacation mode and just like, you know what, I'm gonna have all the things because it's the weekend. Like you don't have days off from your health just because you have days off from work. Making sure that you're keeping that in mind, but also like fit in the things that you want to have. Like make sure you get like a food tracking app. Make sure you're losing weight in a healthy way, like losing 1 to 2 pounds per week. You don't want to be losing more than that because then you're gonna get hangry. You're gonna get really hungry. You're gonna binge. But making sure you're fitting these things into a caloric deficit. Like you can still, there's actually a study that's a perfect example. There's this guy that lost 21 pounds in 21 days only eating McDonald's. Not telling anybody to eat McDonald's. Please do not take that as advice to eat McDonald's. But you can lose weight eating McDonald's. That means you can basically eat anything, or you can eat anything by like planning it out ahead of time and fitting in it ahead of time. Like we have people that go to events, they go on date nights, they like strategically figure out how they're going to do that. Like if you go out for dinner, like what I would look for is measurable things. Well, before measurable things, I would even look into see if there's any nutritional facts available online. Like I would personally, one of my favorites, Boston Pizza. It's more whole foods. You can go to like A&W, grass-fed beef, super quick. That's another go-to for me. And there's a lot of nutritional facts available on like MyFitnessPal, Eat This Much. You can fit those things in there. I still regularly go out for dinner and go have greasy food because it's a part of my life. I love to have those things, but I fit them in ahead of time and I plan them out. You can't do it the day of, because imagine if you just had a bunch of food throughout the day and then you're going to go out for food and get some greasy food that's been cooked with butter and oil and all these extra calories. You staying within that window of what you need to be in for calories is probably going to go out the window. And if there's no nutritional facts available online, because there's going to be some of those things, like especially locally, I need food prep ideas that will stay fresh. I don't have a problem eating prep dinners. I have a problem with it not tasting good after one, 2 or days of prep. Yeah. So what I would do for that is I would try and have multiple prep days. I almost like I have some clients where they prep half the week and then they prep the other half of the week. So prepping like Sunday, prep until like Tuesday, Wednesday, then you have a little bit more time to prep. You could even prep like a third time as well too. Like if that's something that is where you want to make sure that it tastes fresh and it's something you want to have on a regular basis, that's probably the way that I would approach it, where you do it multiple times throughout the week and then it stays fresh. Then that also gives you an extra opportunity to plan for the weekend as well too, giving that second opportunity and just putting those two things together. But coming back to the restaurant thing, so you want to go for measurable things that are on the menu. Like I would go for like an 8-ounce steak, go for things that are less ingredients. And I would look at the menus ahead of time so you can like get there. You're not like stressed out trying to like spend time with everybody and having like a good time while you're there. And you're just stressed out about food the entire time that you're there. It just allows you to be a little bit more present. It eliminates the stress and anxiety of you being like, what the heck am I going to have? And I would even include other people into your planning. Like when you're having your kids, your partner, like involve them, make it like a family experience. Like you're going to your mom's house, call her up, like explain to her why you're doing it, why you're trying to like take care of your health and like the importance behind it and how you want them to support you. I've had clients do that before and they end up having like their mom, their aunt, their grandma that normally just gave them food as like affection. They just say yes to it. They would like plan out ahead of time with them. They would call them up and know exactly what food is going to be there. So they could just go there, have the food and spend quality time with their family. So it also like looking at it, not just from it's this tedious thing that you have to do to stay on track. It also just allows you to enjoy yourself and be a little bit more present and not like have all these things that you're relying on your ability to remember to do and like frantically doing it, which just increases your stress. So it's a matter of just you being able to have more energy, have more mental clarity, but then also consistently hit your goals and be able to have foods that you want to have at the same time. And second is going to be Daniel, Erica Rose. Nice to see you guys. Nice to see everybody. Again, if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat. Lacey, I hope that answer helped, by the way. If you want more clarity, more than happy to dive a little bit deeper into that. Ainsley, nice to see you as well. So second, we're going to be going to high satiety foods. So foods do matter. Like I'm not just telling people to go eat McDonald's and like go have whatever you want to have and just fit it in. Cause like there are calorically dense things and like you have hunger signals. Like especially if you're stressed out and like you have like a really bad day and you're really hungry and you're having really calorically dense foods that don't fill you up a whole lot, like the likelihood of you eating outside of the plan that you had for that day goes up significantly. I would stock your house with things that are high satiety. My favorite is egg whites because there's no carbs, there's no fats, and it's just pure protein. So you can have a ton of volume and just fill up your stomach where it's like little to no calories. I also love beef jerky with no additives. You can go with Greek yogurt. Like I like plain non-fat Greek yogurt. I'll put like a scoop of protein powder, some blueberries, some Splenda. You don't even need to do the scoop of protein powder. You can just put like some Splenda. You can put like a little bit of honey. Like not everybody's a Splenda person. I find it's less calories. So I typically go with Splenda. You can go with lots of fruits, vegetables, whole foods, like making sure you're going for a lot of meat, like lots of protein. And when it comes to protein, the reason that you want to allocate calories to protein, like a lot of people are like protein. This is the explanation of why you need to be having protein. So when you're doing resistance training, which everybody should be doing resistance training for strengthening, for changing body composition, for burning fat, you need to make sure that you're able to have sufficient protein for recovery and being able to build muscle, but also because it's the highest thermogenic macronutrient. Because like there's the law of thermodynamics with fats, carbs, and proteins. Carbs and fats, you burn little to no calories. Like you don't burn a whole lot of calories just by digesting them. By digesting protein, you burn 20 to 30% of those calories. So if you're having like 100 calories, just straight 100 calories of protein, you're burning 20 to 30 calories of that 100 calories. Like obviously depends on your metabolism and like how like your body, because everybody expends a little bit more and it can vary based off the person, but you're burning 20 to 30% of it. And then it fills you up the most. It's the highest satiety macronutrient, where it's going to fill you up a ton, but be way less calories. Because the biggest pitfall is people binging, falling off track, and they have all these calorically dense things. Like having like a tablespoon of peanut butter, you might not think that that's a lot of calories, but that can add up quite a bit. And also like anything that's just high in fats. Like I would actually even state like when you're going for meat, make sure you're getting lean meat. Don't go for like ground beef. That was a mistake that I used to make where I'd always go with ground beef. Those of us that live in the Yukon, if you have access to like wild game, like moose, that would be perfect to have because it tastes very similar to ground beef in my opinion, and it's very low fat. So I can have a ton of it and have way more of it, and I feel way more full, and I'm still able to maintain a calorie deficit if I'm trying to lose fat. And then boundaries. That's probably the biggest one, to be totally honest, for everybody. For all you people pleasers out there, make sure you guys are setting boundaries in place. That is so freaking key to make sure that you're able to create consistency around it. Because if you're just saying yes to everything, you're going to overextend yourself. Like you're going to go for food when you don't want to, even though you know you probably shouldn't be. Or you might be going to like a super high calorie restaurant, and because you haven't set boundaries and you're not used to doing it, it feels like this confrontation that you don't want to be a part of. Rip the band-aid off. Like I've had so many clients where they just put it off and they'll just overextend themselves and overextend themselves. Then they get like more and more stressed out. It like puts them into a bad headspace. Then the likelihood of them binging and falling off track goes up, and they're just not showing up as their authentic, like best self on a regular basis. So like you even feel empowered as well too. Like it's the best form of self-love, like having non-negotiable time to make sure you're meal prepping, to make sure you're getting a little bit of like self-care and activity to fill your cup a little bit because you can't pour from an empty cup. Making sure you're able to do those things just for a little bit of time. Like nobody's coming in here to be like, hey, like start uplifting or uprooting your entire routine and start working out an hour every single day and like dedicate that time. Do 20 minutes, do 10 minutes, do some breathing exercises, do some yoga, do something to put you into a better headspace. Like that stuff, super freaking important. We're not just talking about weight loss here. Like I want to make sure you guys are able to like have the time for yourselves. So that's just going to create more sustainability as well. Because if there's just things that come up to get put on you and you're not able to say no, you're not able to set those firm boundaries and definitely explain why you're doing it as well to those people. And like you'd be surprised how many support systems that you create by communicating it the right way. We're like, hey, like personally for me, like for myself, I used to struggle with depression and like mental health like I still do. Like it's something I still struggle with, but I struggle with it a lot back in high school. So being able to like explain that to friends when I didn't want to go out drinking, when I didn't want to like go for food and stuff like that, I'm like, hey, like I need to prioritize this so I can feel confident, I can feel happy, I'm not like depressed all the time. Like I really appreciated it. Like if you didn't like peer pressure me and like, or just like you were able to support me and like help me with this. And you'd be surprised how many people are like that love you are going to help you. If they don't help you, you might want to reconsider that relationship a little bit. Just saying. Like it's like if they love you and you explain it like that and they take it that way, like that's I'm not saying to cut people off, but like distancing yourself from people and like surrounding yourself with the right people is also very important. Living up in the north here, I've surrounded by a bunch of people that are just drinking all the time and don't take care of themselves. And then like you almost feel like it's normal. You almost feel like it's something that like it's oh, because everybody else is doing it, like I can do it too. And then you start to normalize it, which is why it's been normalized up here. But not saying not to drink or anything like that. Like I have clients that still drink every single weekend. They plan ahead. That comes back to key number one, where you can still fit these things in. Just need to make sure you're planning it out ahead of time. But you want to be very clear on the person that you're trying to create for yourself, like that greater version of Josie or Tracy or Billy or like for all the other names that are in here, the greater version of yourself. Who are they spending time with? What do their routines look like? Like what are their values? What are they trying to do for themselves? What are the boundaries that they need to set in place and the people that may need to distance themselves from, and like just making sure you have clear boundaries of what you need to do that's going to serve that greater version of yourself. Because once you get clear on that vision, that's super important. Like that actually, well, we're going to do key number 4. So making sure like you can do all these things, but if you have no reason, nothing fueling the fire, like how do you expect to show up? Like you need to think about not only what you're going to create for yourself, that vision, like maybe it's wearing that 2-piece in Mexico, or turn on people's heads, like you feel that confidence, just like that pep in your step, feeling like ecstatic. Maybe it's like you at the top of a crazy hike with your kids when you're older and you're able to do a hike and you're able to like function properly, like whatever that goal is for you, picture that. Like don't be like, oh, I just want to lose weight, or like I want to get toned, like all these generalized like vague kind of answers that like aren't bad answers, but they just aren't very specific for the person that you're trying to create for yourself. Get specific on what your why is. Like what are you trying to create for yourself? Is it you being able to be a better mom so you can show up stronger for your family and have energy and be able to keep up with your kids as you get older as well, to be able to compete with them as well too? Maybe taking all the groceries at the same time, but then also thinking about what is it going to cost you if you don't do it. Like I remember when I was like, oh man, if I went back to feeling that depressed all the time and like feeling like shit about myself, I wouldn't know what I would do. Like that was the hugest motivator for me. And what I'd really recommend is like putting stuff into like a visual place, like taking screenshots of the goal and that represents the goal that you're trying to create for yourself. I used to have Arnold Schwarzenegger with like 2 medals. Like for those of you that saw the bodybuilding competition where I got second and third in the 2 different divisions, like I was picturing that every single day as my first bodybuilding competition. And I just wanted to like visualize it and pay attention to it. Because the thing is, like psychologically, when you get clear on what your goals are, it's going to create motivation, because like motivation is something that it's not something that just exists. It's something you have to create. So first of all, like make sure that you get a why that creates motivation. Like you feel like you almost like feel lifted just saying it out loud. But I would get like a vision board, like put it on your screensavers, and then psychologically your brain's gonna be like, oh, this is important to Sharon, this is important to Caitlin, this is important to Josie. And like every opportunity that you see throughout the day, you're gonna take that opportunity. You're gonna take the stairs instead of the elevator. You're gonna say no to that donut more likelihood. Like if somebody brings in some Tim Hortons donuts into work, like you don't want to do that workout, you're probably still going to show up because that discipline for that greater version, that vision that you have for yourself outweighs you not wanting to do it. So like also having a clear purpose and reviewing it on a regular basis is so freaking key. Because like I remember when I was doing my bodybuilding competition, I was like eating 1,300 calories, working out 2.5 hours every single day, and I'm like 220 pounds. Like you can some of you will understand how little calories that is, and when you're eating that little, you start to get like depressed. Like part of a bodybuilding competition is the shittier that you feel, the more ready that you are for the competition. And being able to get clear on what my goals are was so freaking key to be able to continue to push through. And I was like, if I can show up for this, I'm going to be able to do anything. So like it also just it creates, like when you're able to have a clear vision, you're able to show up, and when you don't want to, it creates discipline. You create more trust with yourself. You create more confidence with your ability to be able to do it in the face of adversity. Because it's easy to do it when you're motivated and everything's going really well. But you know how some of you guys have that cycle of stopping and starting. If you get clear on what your goals are, like you're going to create more consistency. You're still going to show up even just a little bit when these things are happening. That's one mindset I would heavily make sure that you guys adapt, is focusing on small steps lead to big results. It's about habit development and just doing it on a regular basis and like showing yourself that you can follow through with those little promises that you're creating for yourself. Because if you can't follow through with those, you lose trust with yourself. You lose confidence with your ability to be able to even do it in the first place. So just showing yourself that you can follow through with it. But I hope this was really helpful to everybody that watched this. I liked it. I feel like it was very valuable. Hopefully you guys take at least one action step. Remember, knowledge isn't power. Applied knowledge is power. So make sure to take that away from this. And if you guys have any questions, you need help with anything, more than happy to help. And I'll talk to you guys soon.